So stop posting from your business profile. I'm literally saying stop posting from your business profile. If you want to put some random stuff on there occasionally, of course, not random. If you want to put some purposeful stuff on there, do. But actually the business profile should just be resharing some of their employees' content or, some of the things that I see businesses doing that actually the business profile pages are doing well are maybe they have a staff member do a takeover every week. The staff member
Mm.
explains who they are, what they do, and they post some valuable content on the business profile because they don't have a huge following themselves. But I know if I post something on LinkedIn, the exact same content that we post on our business page, it will likely get 10, 20, 30 times more engagement if I post it because people want to engage with me. They don't want to engage with my faceless business page.
Welcome to Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, your dedicated source for mastering B2B social media marketing challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Galton, and in each episode, we dive deep into the complex world of B2B marketing, from effective content creation to strategic social selling, sharing insights and strategies you can use right away. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing professionals like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling agencies like yours. Now, are you tired of pouring countless hours into social media only to see minimal returns for your B2B company? You're posting regularly, engaging with followers, and creating what you think is valuable content, but where are the leads? If you're frustrated with social media, feeling more like a time sink than a lead generation machine, you're not alone. Many B2B marketers struggle to connect to their social media efforts to actual business results, leaving them questioning whether it's worth the investment at all. What if you're just doing it wrong? What if there was a way to transform your social media strategy from a resource drain into a powerful lead generation engine? That's exactly what we're diving into today with our expert guest, Katie Street. As the founder of Street Agency and host of one of the UK's leading marketing podcasts, Katie has helped countless B2B companies transform their social media approach from aimless activity into strategic lead generation. Her agency's innovative approach to B2B marketing has revolutionized how companies think and execute their social media strategies, consistently delivering measurable results and qualified leads for their clients. Hey, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. I mean, I am loving that intro. If someone could just walk around and introduce me everywhere like that, I would be a very happy lady.
I would happily be your hype guy for whatever you needed. You are amazing.
Amazing. Thank you. I love it.
Thanks for coming on here. And I want to just dive right in because I know you've seen a lot. And I'd love for you to share just what you think the biggest mistake that you see B2B companies making with their social media strategy when it comes to lead generation.
Oh, I mean, this is a drum I bang a lot, but the biggest problem that I see is in the world of B2B marketing, most businesses are still trying to show up as a business rather than putting it at, well, sorry, I'm going to start that again, but again, rather than showing up as people, because at the end of the day, people want to buy from people. So everything that we do is around humanizing people's marketing content and taking a very human-centered approach to delivering that. So that really means putting the team, the staff, your people, your thought leaders front and center when it comes to your content and creating that very human-centered video content. In fact, my LinkedIn post today was about exactly this. It was about how, you've got to produce, there's a reason that LinkedIn, and just to kind of date stamp this, so we're recording in January 2025. Last month, end of 2024, LinkedIn launched a video feed. It's because as people, consumers, customers, clients, whatever you want to call it, because of TikTok, because of Instagram, we're so used to this short form video content. So the biggest problem that I still see businesses doing is trying to show up with long form content, reports that are probably full of value, but people don't have the time, energy, or attention to consume it. So the biggest problem I see is those old school ways of delivering marketing content from a marketing team, overly branded, not very human, not very engaging, still being pushed out. And the biggest opportunity brands have right now is to show up as a person. That is how you'll get noticed.
It's almost like I've been following you on LinkedIn and paying attention to the things that you've been saying, right?
Yeah, it honestly frustrates me, like, there's some of our clients are
Yeah.
getting really brave with this now. We've got campaigns we're kicking off, so yeah, for some of the world's biggest tech companies, that they have they're being brave enough to take our advice and do this. It's an exciting place, but it's taken too long, in my opinion, and those that do start to start to look at their thought leaders, start to look at the people within their, business. We call it, I think it's EGC is the word I'm
Mm.
looking for, but gone are the days of user generated content. It's all about, employee generated content. So taking an employee first approach to, your go to market strategy, putting the right people front and center of your campaigns on social media. You can see the stats, like any viral post that we've done for us or our clients recently has come from someone talking to camera exactly like we are now, and thinking about the hook, developing some content, ideally under 45 seconds, short, snappy, value led. That's what we need to be doing as B2B, in the world of B2B, as B2B marketeers. If you do that, you are going to start punching and getting the attention that you need. Sorry.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, to your point, LinkedIn has a dedicated video tab. Just this past weekend, X also released a dedicated video tab button in the mobile feed. So they're pushing video, folks. You got to be paying attention to that. In fact, about 6 months ago, I was interviewing someone from TikTok, one of their product managers, and they specifically talked about how they're seeing not just trends in terms of vertical video and that sort of thing, but to your point, brands who are creating their own video in the style of user generated content, right? So the video looks as though I filmed it in my garage, but it's actually a professional, highly produced thing. And I had seen examples of that myself. And that's clearly where everyone's going. But you talked about how you work with clients. I'm wondering if you could walk us through that framework or that approach that you have that helps them transform their social media activity into something that will actually generate leads for the business.
Yeah, I'll start at the beginning of a kind of client campaign and walk you through. So essentially, first up, it's about understanding what's going on in the market right now. What are the things that are keeping your audience, your prospects up at night? What are the things that they're worrying about that they can't do, the challenges that they're facing in their role, in their business? So we always start by doing quite a bit of research when it comes to, what's going on in the market, specifically the markets that we're working with our clients within, obviously. What's going on, for their prospects? What are the things that, for us, we work with a lot of technology companies, people like you guys will know, Shopify, commerce tools, big commerce, contentful, those tend to be the kind of clients that we work with. So we know that space quite well, but we look at what's going on right now, what's going on, for the sectors that they want to approach, in maybe retail or whatever it might be. So really understanding the challenges, developing off the back of that some key content pillars and some key subjects and things that we know, and it's kind of getting into that messy middle. It's not just about, okay, we do digital transformation. It's about, oh, isn't it bloody frustrating when you have to upload a piece of content 7 times to get it live on your website? We know how to help you solve that. It's thinking about the day-to-day problems that your prospects are facing that you can help them solve. So that develops us some content pillars and maybe some just key subjects and ideas for things that we want to talk about. We'll then probably brief our clients on that, develop some key things that we want to discuss, and and basically sometimes even using some pretty clever AI tools to, once we've loaded all of the research, all of the insights, the content pillars into maybe something like ChatGPT, but making sure we're creating a custom GPT, we will
Hmm.
then ask it to help us create briefs that we can then give to our clients, and scripts that will enable them to talk to camera saying, what it is that we need them to say. And at the beginning of those, this is the absolute killer and probably one of the most important things. You've got to have a hook. That first 3 seconds is the most important. What goes on after that actually isn't as important, but those first 3 seconds and that title at the top of your post, that clickbaity hook has got to be on the money. It's got to be challenging. Ideally, you're also looking at when we're doing this market research, what's going on right now. Like, go and chat. ask ChatGPT, what are people searching for? What are the key, what does Google Analytics tell you? Like, what are the things that are trending right now? Like, my friend got 4 million impressions on a video she did last week on LinkedIn, because she was talking about these kind of AI influencers, like, that are not even real people,
Oh
that are
yeah.
15 grand a week or whatever, because it was current. It was based on what people were thinking and talking about right now. Now, you've obviously, it's all well and good talking about that, but if there's no reason for you to talk about it for your business and you can't sell anything off the back of it in the world of B2B, potentially a little bit pointless. But essentially, I think that's the key. It's strategy, subject, script, deliver the hook, to camera, cropped in as much as you can. There's lots of little things that you can do, but when we're doing video content, that's really how we define what we should be talking about, because there's so many ingredients, right? It's got to be, you know, a subject that people care about. It's got to be valuable. It's got to be talking directly to the person. Like, there's no point in, just having a chat. You want it to be like you're talking to them. And yeah, you've got to be doing it in a confident way that people want to engage with. There's loads of little things like, you know, I was talking about this with an influencer who I had on my podcast last week, and little things that go on in the background. Like, you'll notice, probably TikTok have been doing this the most recently, but like, you can have like split screens now where someone will be talking the value content at the top, and at the bottom you've got someone playing with slime, or like some kind of kinesthetic type thing happening underneath, because it keeps the attention of the audience. So things like that start to happen, or they might be doing something like playing with something in their hand, and the audience going, oh, what are they playing with? What is that? Like, we did one, we're going to test it the other day with a banana. So and then people like going like, what is she doing with that banana? Like, what's going on? So it's about like testing different things as well, but creating content that is interesting to watch, that's got a hook, that is really, really important to get that first 3 seconds right. If you F that bit up, the whole thing falls apart.
There are incredible psychological truths buried in what you're talking about. Like, I could sit here in my studio and shoot, talking head videos all day long, and the content itself might be fantastic. But for certain kinds of people, certain kinds of learners in the audience, just paying attention to my talking head, they're going to tune me out almost instantly, because they need that hook that isn't audible. They need that visual cue that's going to grab their attention. I don't want to say that necessarily ADD, or something like that, but they're a different kind of learner, and they need that activity on screen, which is why me filming walking would be infinitely better than just me sitting here in my studio. So I love some of the things that you talked about, and I love the use of AI. I'm a huge fan of AI. I've got my own AI podcast. In fact, folks, if you're not sure what Katie's talking about when she talks about custom GPTs, I've got a whole episode from the AI Hat podcast I'll link to in the show notes that'll help kind of walk you through what that is, because that is a fabulous approach to using AI, whether it's Gemini Gems or ChatGPT custom GPTs. But I'm curious, because your approach to video is very similar to what I've seen many other fantastic folks talk about for today's short form videos. Are you seeing a difference, a nuance in that that's different for B2B versus, like, B2C or other kinds of verticals, or are they pretty much a great
Yeah,
short form video is a great short form video?
I think we've got to almost stop worrying about B2C or B2B, because the same rules apply. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's a
Okay.
human or a person watching the video, right? So that human or person, whether they're interested in a product because they're buying something, for their home, or, some beauty products, that actually how you deliver the content doesn't make any difference, because you've got to capture their attention. You've got to make it interesting. You've got to make it valuable. You've got to hook them in with something. So actually, it doesn't matter. I think the problem that we have is B2B marketers aren't thinking like B2C marketers. That's the difference.
Mm.
They're thinking, we still need to do long form reports. We still need to create, this designed business content. We still need to show up like a business talking to another business. Businesses don't do business with other businesses. People within businesses do business with other businesses, people in other businesses, so if that makes sense. So maybe say it again. People in businesses do business with other people in other businesses. So stop trying to show up like a business, show up like a person that's trying to do business with another person. That's the key to success. And I think it's the way B2B marketers are still thinking, which is a little bit old school, that is stopping
Yeah.
them from moving forward and getting the amount of leads that they could do. It's honestly, this is such a simple change. Put your people first, stop putting your business first. Like the stats are huge. Something like you get 10 times better engagement for exactly the same content if you post it from a personal profile than you do from a business profile on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So stop posting from your business profile. I'm literally saying stop posting from your business profile. If you want to put some random stuff on there occasionally, of course, not random. If you want to put some purposeful stuff on there, do. But actually the business profile should just be resharing some of their employees' content, or some of the things that I see businesses doing that actually the business profile pages are doing well are maybe they have a staff member do a takeover every week. The staff member
Mm.
explains who they are, what they do, and they post some valuable content on the business profile because they don't have a huge following themselves. But I know if I post something on LinkedIn, the exact same content that we post on our business page, it will likely get 10, 20, 30 times more engagement if I post it, because people want to engage with me. They don't want to engage with my faceless business page. Simple. Like that's such
Absolutely.
a simple change and it makes all the difference.
Yeah, yeah, that's why one of the things that we do inside of AgoraPulse is we have an advocacy feature where you can post to a LinkedIn company page, but when you post, you could also send an email to all of your employees asking them to go engage with that post, because when they start to repost and engage with it, then they start to bring in some of that personal connection that you talked about. And I also like that LinkedIn has a thought leader ad format where an employee can post to their personal profile, and then the brand can come on the back of that and boost it. So what role do you think paid plays in the social media marketing, in lead generation for B2B, alongside some of the principles you've been talking about so far?
Mike, that is a bloody brilliant question. So excuse my French, but because I've literally just interviewed someone on the podcast exactly about that. So traditionally at Street, we've taken a very organic approach to social, but we do use some pretty clever AI tools, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So we're actually about to trial doing those thought leader ads in exactly the way that you have talked about. Now, a few comments on that I have literally just learned myself. If you, as a B2B marketer, have access to any kind of data platform where you've already got your own data, or access to, I guess, data privacy approved, GDPR, whatever you want to call it, data that you're able to access. So there's some great platforms out there that we use, like Cognizant, Apollo, so many more, where you can scrape data. If you can get that data and load it into LinkedIn, your cost per click is going to be so much lower because you're specifically giving it the data that you want to target. If you just give it the job titles and the names, it will charge you more to get those clicks or to get those views, whatever, depending on what your aims are with your campaign. So I'm super excited about this because traditionally we've just pushed content out and it does well organically. The other thing that we then do, which isn't paid, but we use some pretty sneaky AI tools that enable us to automate and target prospects in the same way that paid does, but it's much cheaper because it is, I don't know, it's a plug-in to LinkedIn, which LinkedIn probably will hate me. I did actually have the head of the Institute from LinkedIn on my podcast last week, so hopefully she's not listening. But I mean, I don't know if I do hate them as much as I think they do, but the one that we love and we use the most is a platform called Meet Alfred. Mike, have you heard of Meet Alfred?
I have not.
Do you want me to tell you about Meet Alfred? Yeah,
Please
listen.
do.
So Meet Alfred, I love. So you can, if you've got Sales Navigator, it works brilliantly. So you can search for your prospect. This is how I use it, and I'll explain. And this is how we do it for our clients as well. So we can do a search on Sales Nav or using one of the data platforms that we have to get all of the people that we want to target in a search. So for instance, let's just say for me, I want to target heads of marketing, CMOs, partner marketing directors, whatever it might be, at tech companies over, I don't know, 50 million pound turnover, based in such and such location. Do my search, it gives me all those people. I load that in to Meet Alfred and say, okay, I found these 500 people, they'd be perfect future clients for me. This is the journey I'm going to set up. what Meet Alfred will then do is it will find all of those people's LinkedIn profiles. It will, and then based on the journey that you set out, but this is the journey that I like, is it will then go and view their profiles. So they'll see that I've looked at them. I'll then tell it to go and like one of their recent posts. I'll then say a day later, like another one of their posts. So they recognize and they started to see me. Then I'll tell it to send them a connection request. Then after the connection request, this is all automated. I'll say, send a message saying, hey, I hope you like being connected with me. I share a lot of, I've got a podcast. I share a lot of content about X, Y, and Z. Hope you enjoy it. That's it. Then a week or two later, I might go, hey, I recorded this podcast with Mike recently where we talked about the AI tools that you can use to, drive more leads from LinkedIn. Thought you might like this little clip, and send them that. And they're now in my network, seeing my content. And then I might, if I'm, wanting to push some sales, I might then invite them to an event that we're hosting, or I might, start a conversation, say, hey, did you watch that? What did you think? How's your lead gen going? Whatever it might be. So that gets us in front of the exact people that we want to be our future clients. Honestly, that piece of technology, game changer. It has heightened the amount of leads we, rather than just waiting for people to find us, I'm able to get my podcast content or our events or whatever it might be for a client in front of our prospects really easily.
Love it. I am actually using a similar tool called Duck Soup, where
Yes.
it's able to automate the outreach. It's able to automate follow-up messages. So, and I can create all kinds of different workflows. So, I've got 4 podcasts with Agorapulse, and I'm using LinkedIn to source guests for almost all of those podcasts, and just have different workflows. So, if I find someone on LinkedIn, a search or whatever, I can enroll them in that workflow that sends them a personalized invitation connection. Say, hey, Katie, I'd love for you to be on the podcast. Short and sweet, personalized. And then when you accept the connection, it automatically follows up within a day. Here's information about the podcast. Please join me. So those are terrific tools. I'm wondering, if you could talk about some of your work with your clients, maybe one where you've had a success story of a B2B company where you've come in and you've just totally transformed their social media for lead generation specifically.
Yeah, I think that probably the best campaigns that we do don't just involve social media. It's a blend. So, everything that I've said, I guess, in this podcast, which is around being human centered, person first, is really important from a social media perspective. But what we tend to do is kind of take a multi-channel approach. And ideally, we're running these, social media campaigns, but next to a in-person event or something that then actually gets you in front of your prospects. So typically, I'm not sure which ones I'm allowed to talk about here, but for it, we try and create experiences. So the content that we're delivering
Mm.
online, will be leading up to something like one of our clients recently. And actually, this one works the other way around. But we did Bake Off. Do you guys have Bake Off in the US? Well, it's similar to like
Oh,
MasterChef bakes. Do you know?
probably something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we call it Bake Off. So we hosted an event where we got brand leaders together. So I don't know, head of digital at Harrods, working with I don't know, the CMO from HSBC, which is a big bank in the UK,
Yep.
and someone from our client, Contemptful, and they kind of pair up together to create a personalized bake because they were talking about they've just bought this new personalization platform, which is being built into the Contemptful platform. So we that got 24 brands in the room working together in a really immersive experiential way that built relationships in a way that you just cannot repeat in any other way. And then all of them are posting content about it. Wow, Contemptful and invited me to this amazing event, which then got us even more reach. And now we're just finalizing all the content that we made at that event, which we're now running a campaign outward to get even more leads. So they've probably locked in already 7 or 8 meetings off the back of the event itself with their ICP prospects, ideal client profile, if you don't know what ICP means, but I'm
Yep.
sure you do. And then off the back of that, we're now running a content campaign to reach even more people and book even more meetings for them. So I think it's about, not don't don't see social media as a thing on its own. One of the other things, I guess TikTok having a ban, which is
Yep.
now back, right, in the US. You have TikTok
It
again
is
now.
back for
It
now.
it was a short ban. But if you that would have been really worrying for a lot of businesses that have put all their eggs into one basket when it comes to social media. And I kind
Yeah.
of like to think of social media as um, you're renting your audience. You don't own their data. So what you want to do, a bit like I was saying, like put the data in, is you need to have your own data. You still need to know who these people are. If LinkedIn goes down tomorrow, I don't want to not be able to contact those people. So I need to look at who I'm connected with on LinkedIn and make sure I've got their email address. So, look at tactics, content, and things that you can push out via social, which will also enable you to capture their data, because then you own the conversation. You're able to direct the conversation. I think social media is huge, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you do not know who your customer or who your prospects are, who's listening, if one of these platforms goes down or the algorithm changes, you've got to have your own data. So I think that's really important. And taking a multi-channel, I don't know, multi-tactic approach is going to have the best impact for you. So think about social media being part of this ecosystem, not the only ecosystem.
Incredible, timely advice about our approach to not only social media platforms individually, but marketing overall. Don't silo social media off, integrate it into everything else that you're doing. Folks, we're talking with Katie Street about how social media has evolved for B2B brands, particularly when it comes to lead gen. In a moment, we're going to tackle tools, AI, and more. But first, an essential tool that every B2B marketer must have in their kit: a management and a reporting platform.
Actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agora Pulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So, Katie, going back to the short form video, because I'm really fascinated by the approach. I know a lot of people listening haven't thought about doing short form videos. They've seen the kinds that you're talking about, but they haven't thought about doing them for B2B specifically. How do we know that it's working? How can we connect the dots and know that our strategy over the past couple months or 90 days has actually led to leads and business results?
I mean, for me, it's all about the conversations, right? Like, look, you need to look at the stats, and there's so much that you need to track here. Like, it's all well and good going viral. But actually sometimes going viral actually can do you more damage than good if the content isn't pointed at your prospects specifically. So if you start to then pull loads of people in, loads of people start engaging with your content, following you, and then don't engage, you're actually going to do yourself damage, and the algorithm's not going to like you in future because they don't continue to engage with the future content. So I think don't worry so much about the reach, worry more about the conversations that you start. The way that we track that, honestly, when you actually really like delve down and look into it, is how many conversations have we started? I'm not just talking about conversations in the comments. How many people have responded and inboxed you off the back of that going, that was really interesting. We want to do that. Can you help us? How many meetings are you booking? Like that's the real trackability of the success of content. And it's the same for, podcasts and everything. Like when I actually think about, is the podcast doing well? I don't really care how many hundreds, thousands, millions, let's hope one day, of listeners we have. What I care about, because I'm doing it from a B2B perspective to help us generate leads, is how many conversations, how many meetings have I booked off the back of that content? That's really, I mean, look, you need to look at all the metrics because of course, they all need to work together. But really, that's the metric that matters.
Love it, love it. So, what are some of the tools that you're using in your agency on behalf of clients? Whether it's managing social media, optimizing for lead gen, tracking all of this. How are you keeping all that and not going insane?
Yeah, I mean, not particularly well, if I'm honest. I'm just looking at the options you just shared, going, "Oh my gosh, we need to check out Agora Pulse." We've used lots over the years, like things like Ninja Cat. We tend to there's a new one actually we've just started using, and you're asking the wrong person because my team know about these tools a lot more than I do because they actually use. But I think, from our point of view, in terms of how we manage the content plans, of course, we're using things that help us schedule the content, that post the content. A lot of the time, our clients will still post the content themselves, but we're using schedules, planners. We use, Monday.com. We use all of those platforms to kind of make sure that the plan is happening. Everyone knows what needs to be posted when, and or it posts it automatically. I think the problem that we have with with a lot of the platforms is, for instance, and some of them may have updated now, and I probably should relook at some of them, is they won't let you post video content, or they won't let you post,
Mm.
that the automation only works on certain types of content. So I'm trying to think, maybe I don't want to can Adobe because they've probably updated it since. But things like Adobe, for instance, for a while, you could only publish graphic posts. Okay, well, that doesn't work for us. So we've still got to do a lot
Yeah.
of it manually when we're distributing at scale across different platforms, or we've got lots of content that we need to schedule. So sadly, some of it still does have to be quite manual. But I think that's the point. You've got to continually review the different platforms that are available because they're changing all the bloody time. So in order to get ahead, for me, it's, what platforms are going to help us track the best, what platforms are going to, for us, it's actually quite hard because the process that we take, or the approach we take, I should say, is about, people's personal profiles. And sometimes it's not easy to aggregate that data. I'd love to know actually if you're that's what I was going to have a look at later, is if Agora Pulse can track personal profiles on LinkedIn's engagement for posts, because it's actually really hard to find platforms that do that. Yes, they can do the business page. Yes, they can do an individual's page on Instagram or somewhere else, but actually some of the things that the tracking just isn't there yet. So yeah, you might be able to recommend to me, Mike, if there's anything that can help us with that. I would love to know.
Yeah, that's a great example of how the social networks have limited what data and what actions can be taken on behalf using a third-party platform. So yeah, third-party tools like Agorapulse don't have access to personal LinkedIn profile reports.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'm just trying to look at one that we were
Yeah,
investigating. Taplio. There we go.
yeah,
That's
Taplio.
what we're
Yeah,
looking at now to see if it can, but it's hard. So a lot of it we still have to do fairly manually in platform. And then not all of our clients want us to access their LinkedIn. So we have to ask them to give us the data. So it's hard. Not everything's perfect. Like you say, the platforms want you to stay in platforms. They don't want to give the plugins away to these other platforms because they want us to use theirs.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to your point, the tools themselves are changing all the time. I mean, in
Mm.
Q4 2024, Agorapulse, we released Threads support, and by the time this podcast lands, we probably will have released or will be soon to releasing Blue Sky support because we're always trying to keep up with all these social networks that people want to use and all the features that are out there. But you talked about AI earlier, and I want to come back to that because it's a fascinating concept to me, and I know many of the folks listening are probably in two different camps on the use of AI for their businesses or for their clients. And I'm curious how you think AI has changed social media lead generation, and how do you see B2B companies specifically using AI more in the coming year?
Oh, I mean, I see a lot of crap. Am I allowed to say that, Mike? I'm a big
Sure,
swearer.
you can say anything you want.
I'll try not to swear too much. Um, I I think it's opened the door to more people being confident and putting content out. but I can, because I use the platforms, I can see the crap and I know when something's been written by AI, specifically ChatGPT. So I think we've got to get smart. If you want to use AI, I am actually a huge fan of AI tools, but I think you've got to use it in the right way. So for me, for video content, like I'm authentically recording video content based on my knowledge and my expertise, based on the work that we're delivering for clients, like all of these amazing things that we do, I learn from day in, day out. So I can speak authentically about, my opinions on these things and give out helpful, insightful content. The way that we then tend to use AI is, we'll have developed a custom GPT, we'll have used set up some different chats, etc., that have learnt my tone of voice, and then we might go. So even this morning, to help me with my post, I'll still probably change it. I'll be like, "Hey, chat," I'll record a voice note to ChatGPT. I'll say, "Hey, chat, listen to this transcript from a video from my podcast and write some supporting content in the style that I've taught you in this chat." Blah 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 blah. Blah. Then it will give me something, and then I'll look at it, and I'll probably still make some changes, change the layout slightly, put it on LinkedIn, then put it back to the chat and go, "Hey, look, so this is how the post ended up." So it's continually learning. So you've got to, in my opinion, you've got to treat, in fact, I stole this from someone else. So this is my new opinion based, and it was my opinion, but the phrase is from someone else, my friend Marianne, is you've got to treat your AI tools like a member of staff. Don't expect it to come in. It's
Yeah.
going to have learned from the world, from everyone that's using all of these platforms. It's going to give you some kind, and most people are using them incorrectly and lazily.
Yeah.
It's going to give you a lazy piece of content or a lazy strategy or whatever it might be. If you really want it to do well, you've got to treat them like a member of staff. So my friend Marianne said this to me literally last week, is if you employed someone, you would not just go, "Hey, off you go. Hey, I'm going to ask you some questions and just go and do your work." You'd be onboarding them. You'd be, showing them your creds decks. You'd be, presenting to them. You'd be showing some previous proposals that you've done. You'd be showing, taking them through case studies. You'd be, giving them your brand guidelines. You'd show them some recent social posts, whatever it is. You'd educate them. You'd teach them. You've got to treat ChatGPT or whichever. There are a plethora of platforms, Jasper. There's so many, but whichever one you choose, you've got to put the time in. You've got to teach it who you are, what's going on with your audience, who your ICP are, what their challenges are. You've got to give it the research, because if you don't teach it and you don't treat it like a person, it's going to give you average crap back. If you want it to do well, you've got to put in.
Preach it, Katie. That's fantastic. I could not agree more. I have an AI chief of staff. I use Gemini. I love Gemini. I love their deep research and Notebook LM and all these features that Google's putting out. So I've got an AI chief of staff that I've trained on who I am, how I talk. I've trained it on my tone of voice and style. And it's funny because sometimes I have to actually reel it back. Because folks who know me know that I love Star Wars and science fiction, and they know that I'm a historian, and I'll weave like historical analogies and things, and often I have to tell it, okay, this particular piece of content or email, we don't need to talk about Star Wars. We don't need to relate it to Egyptian history. Let's just get down to brass tacks, because it wants to talk like me, and it has those rules. So that's a fantastic approach. My last question, Katie, because we're almost out of time. I'm just curious, who are some of the influencers you follow, the podcasts that you listen to, or the resources you turn to? Because well, let's be honest, I consider you an influencer in B2B and someone that folks need to follow, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I want to know who or where you're keeping up with social media trends, lead generation, B2B marketing in general.
Fab. Okay, cool. So I've got, oh gosh, loads. But I'm gonna give you 3 or 4 of my favorite. So number one, I literally could reel off hundreds. But I do think that, this is how I learn. The people that I follow, the time I spend on LinkedIn, that's where my knowledge comes from. I've just referenced Marianne, like, there are so many people like her. So first up, let's go with Marianne first. So Marianne DiMaso, she is your marketing mentor on Instagram and TikTok. about 200,000 followers, I think, on TikTok. That's where she kind of grew her following. She, across the world of marketing, but very specifically AI at the moment, she's really doubling down on that, is a great person to follow. Not just B2B, she does also talk about B2C, but if you're interested in marketing in general, she is a fantastic resource of content. And also she's brilliant to look at to see how you should structure your content, because all the things that I've just spoken about in terms of having that hook up front and, you know, developing really cool, fun, interesting short form video, she's brilliant at. So Marianne Damaso, your marketing mentor across most channels, apart from LinkedIn, which will be Marianne Damaso. The next one is a guy called Andy Lambert. Now I want to see if he may be called Andrew Lambert on LinkedIn, but I think he is just Andy Lambert.
I think he is too. I know Andy.
Yeah, I love Andy. He's just the best. So Andy I've known for a long, long time, when he had Content Cal, which we used to use, which is how I know him. So Content Cal is a content calendar, which he sold to Adobe. And for years, he's always done these kind of social media updates, but very focused on B2B. But like the social media updates you need to know every week. I think it might have come out today. Maybe on a Tuesday he does his update. I can't remember which day he does it, but I always see it because I subscribe to him. So he is definitely worth subscribing to. The other one is Grace Andrews. So she is marketing director for Flight Story, I think now, but was the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. She kind of grew the podcast to the fame it is today. She, again, so I think she's Grace Andrews on LinkedIn, but she also creates fantastic content on Instagram and TikTok, and she's called The Social Climber. Again, she does a lot of updates, things that you need to know, trends, tips, tricks, content platforms, everything. And then the last one, last but not least, where you will find a whole load of resources on B2B. If you're not already part of this, then go and check it out and join the B2B Marketing Institute by LinkedIn. I actually interviewed the head of the B2B Marketing Institute from LinkedIn on the podcast last week. Jennifer, I'm going to say this wrong. Jennifer Shawsweet, I think it is. Jennifer Shawsweet. She is amazing, but just going to join their community, following the page, downloading their resources. I think tomorrow, which is timestamping this 22nd of January, so probably would have passed by the time this is live, they release their 2025 trends report. So what they think B2B marketers should be focusing on in 2025. So I definitely would recommend going to download that, and you'll probably be able to find the links and put it in the show notes at some point as well.
That's awesome. First of all, it's a great list. We'll look up all those folks and we'll make sure that their links to their LinkedIns are down below. And I love the B2B Marketing Institute shout out. We've worked with Tyrone Heath many times from LinkedIn. She's fabulous. Maybe I'll have to have her on the show to talk about the latest report. But Katie, you've been an absolute delight. And this has been such a fantastic conversation. I want to thank you. And I want to give you an opportunity to tell folks where to go to find you, because all of you listening need to go connect with Katie and check her out, and certainly reach out if you need her help.
Oh, love that. Thank you, Mike. So yeah, quite simply, come and find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my life, most of my time. But when it comes to sharing that really valuable content, that tends to be where I share. So go and find me on LinkedIn, Katie Street. My agency is called Street Agency. We do actually post some quite cool, helpful content from Street as well. And then my podcast is Marketing in the Madness, which you can search up on your favorite podcasting platform and or YouTube and find lots and lots of content, not just about B2B, more kind of marketing in general. But if you're interested in technology innovations in the marketing world, we should probably have you on. We should be doing a pod share here.
Yes.
So yeah, we're going to make that happen. But yeah, any of those places, but definitely the best one, LinkedIn.
Terrific. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll have all of Katie's links, everything in the show notes below, as always. And that's all the time we've got for today. But don't forget to find the Social Pulse podcast, B2B Edition on Apple, and drop us a review. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thank you for joining another episode of Social Pulse Podcast, B2B Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by AgoraPulse, the leading social media management solution. Learn more at agorapulse.com. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and leave us a review. We value your feedback and look forward to bringing you more useful insights.